Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We're continuing our budget Mardu series and we're looking at white card draw enchantments this time. We did artifacts last time, so these are also, frankly, just not only for Mardu, for any kind of mono deck, these would be very good as well. Someone pointed that out last time. One of my commenters, Ollie, said, this would actually be really good in mono white. And I was like, oh, right, yeah. It's not exclusively Mardu. That's actually something I did not cover before. Anywho, when I say budget, I mean $2 or under on the TCG market value, not a sponsor. Yeah. I love the art on this, by the way. This is one of the cards coming up. The raccoons being sneaky and I'm not sure, they're stealing. Yeah, I think they're stealing booze, but it's just a lot of fun. Anyway, these can provide some good card draw options, but should be paired with other card draw options. All right. None of these. This is another thing that got pointed out. None of these are really standalone card draw, like Ristic Study. You can play that, and it's just your card draw is sorted all by itself. These usually you would pair with another thing, or maybe another couple things that draw cards. I think that's actually stronger because Ristic Study, someone takes out the enchantment. It's an enchantment that everyone wants to kill, and once someone takes it out, you're not drawing cards anymore. This is very hard to counter when you use a bunch that are kind of different, have different other effects as well. I think, what was it called? Norn's Wellspring? I think it's a really good example where you're scrying with death triggers. In the last video we did that, by the way. And yeah, but that would be a really good combination with one of these, I think. Where it's not doing all the card draw by itself, but you're putting it with something else. And between the two of them, if you're drawing your first card and then another card, and then if you're getting 3 cards per turn, first of all, it's going to take 2 removal or counter spells just to be able to shut that down. And secondly, it's 3 cards per turn is actually a lot. Most turns you probably don't cast 3 spells, or a lot of decks don't anyway, so it is going to be worth it. Many of these are ideal in niche situations. They may act as counters or disincentives, okay? I put a lot of stock in disincentives. I think a lot of people do not. A lot of times, I think some of the best value budget cards are ones that provide disincentives, and because no one else seems to really like that a lot, you want something where you can see clearly written in the rules, I get this benefit for sure, not I get this benefit if the other player does something. Especially when it's something like the other player draws a card. That's going to happen. That's just going to happen. Anywho. Curse of Silence. This is 1 white mana. Okay, first of all, 1 white. The price is, or the mana cost is great. As it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Again, you are going to basically play this on another player, and you choose a card name. If they want to cast that card, it costs 2 extra. And if they do cast it, you can sacrifice this and draw a card. Okay? So ideally, it's something where you can get your curse back out of the graveyard and throw it back on another player, or the same player if you want to be really mean. It is 1 mana to draw 1 card. What's more useful is using it to kind of make it more expensive, or even in a commander game, if you play this at the beginning, someone's either going to have to remove it or pay the 2 extra. If they remove it, great. They've used, one of their enchantments removal spells just for this. And if they pay the 2 extra, great, you get to draw a card, and they had to, use more resources, especially if you cast it and name their commander, is the thing I would do. Again, you do have to name a specific spell for them to cast. That will cost the 2 extra. in Commander, you know what that spell is going to be. It's going to be the Commander, right? So you cast it on a player, you say their Commander, and when they want to bring out the Commander, first of all, they're probably going to have to wait a turn or two extra to get more mana. Maybe they have a bunch of ramp and they get through it. It still is going to cost them extra, and you get to draw the card. You're kind of, it's almost like a stacks effect. Like, you're making it so they can't do as much on their turn. And they might have to wait longer to cast the Commander. Like, another full turn can make a very big difference when playing your Commander, right? So in Commander, this is, I think, just crazy good card. And even in other formats, if you know what other people are going to be playing, just say the card. There you go. Great. And this doesn't even like say anything like it counters or something. That you can get around. This just says it costs 2 extra. It just adds to the cost. So there's no real, other than destroying the enchantment, there's no real way around this. There's no tricky, like, if it said it can be countered and the card they play is something that can't be countered, it just ignores it, right? They can just be like, same with Ward. The problem with Ward is that they can just ignore, like, if they're casting a spell that can't be countered, Ward doesn't work. This works. Where Ward does not, this does. Anyway, 21 cents. 21 cents for this one. Again, as a Commander card, I feel like any deck with white should have this, if only to like delay your opponent more than help yourself. Okay, Spark Rupture. So the ETB is draw a card, so rather than waiting for your opponent to do something, you're going to draw a card. That's nice. But what it does is it counters Planeswalkers hard. Planeswalker strategies, basically, if someone's playing a Super Friends deck and this comes out, it's over. Okay, it's over. Particularly if you combine this with a board wipe, it's just devastating. Okay, what this does is it makes all Planeswalkers lose all of their abilities, and they become regular creatures with power and toughness equal to the number of counters they have. So again, if they have like 5 counters, they're a 5/5. You might accidentally make some big creatures with no powers whatsoever. Still an upgrade. Again, use it with a board wipe, and then those Planeswalkers that were safe from board wipes a second ago, they're all fair game, right? This counters board wipes, or this counters any kind of like Planeswalker deck, or even in a regular like Commander game, having lots of Planeswalkers is not that uncommon. I think this is something that can fit into a lot of decks. It's not that uncommon to see a fair amount of Planeswalkers in especially a 4-player game. You're probably going to have at least a couple. So yeah, the effectiveness of this does depend on how common Planeswalkers are with their opponents. Anyway, it is 9 cents. I think this is incredible though. Alright, just really, if you know someone's playing a Super Friends, you throw this in and it's game over for them right there. Okay. Pursuit of Knowledge. This is kind of a weird one, but just hear me out. Skip drawing a card, okay? So not just your first card draw, you can do this anytime you want. And put a study counter on Pursuit of Knowledge. Okay, when you skip drawing a card, put a study counter on. One thing I really want to point out is this is counter based, right? Proliferate decks will love this. Okay, you play this, you're supposed to draw one card. You don't draw that card, you put a counter on it. Proliferate 2 times. That puts 3 counters on, and cash it in for 7 cards. This draws 7 cards. So you're not getting 3, you net 4 though, right? 4 extra. And if you have Proliferate, you can skip 1 card draw and draw 7 instead. That's really crazy. Like, even proliferating twice on a turn, you don't need a deck that's like dedicated to proliferate to be able to do it twice in a turn. Even if you skip 2 card draws and proliferate once, you're getting 5 extra cards. Still absolutely crazy. Anyway, that is 51 cents. Oh, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps a lot and is greatly appreciated. Okay, we are getting to some that are, at least by my standards, more expensive. Smuggler's Share. Okay, the downside here is that it's based on your opponent's actions. So once again, multiplayer, right? This is another white card draw. That is really, if you're not multiplayer, probably don't use it, okay? Multiplayer also means there's 3 chances of this getting activated, but let's take a step back and look at that. So at the beginning of each draw step, again, each draw step, draw a card for each opponent, again, for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn, okay? So if you've got any opponent at the table drew cards, even if it's not their turn, if they drew 2 cards, you get to draw a card as well. Again, in a standard kind of right commander game, you're going to have 3 opponents. You could potentially draw 3 cards on 3 turns. You might be drawing again, it's probably not going to happen, but you could potentially draw 9 cards when it's not even your turn. So by the time it comes back to your turn, draw a card, that's 10. You've drawn up to 10 cards in 1 turn. Like, crazy. Or 1 round. But anyway, what's really good about this one is that it also creates treasure tokens, okay? So, for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn, create a treasure token, okay? So you could also create up to 9 treasure tokens when it's not even your turn, right? Just during the round. Again, Commander will have lots of people playing extra lands and ways to cheat lands in. If they have a green deck, they probably have land ramp. That means that you're getting the more out of this, or not more, but you're getting equal amount out of this. Again, Mardu, their downsides, card draw, mana, land ramp, right? This kind of does both. This gives you the mana, this gives you the cards. Absolutely crazy, but it is 127 and for only 3 mana. 3 mana, 127. And the art is raccoons stealing booze while holding a knife. Okay. But anyway, 127. Okay, our number 1 card is Dawn of a New Age. The ETB, you put a counter on it for each creature you control. So the downside of this card is that it activates once per turn, only on your end step, okay? On your end step, you take 1 counter off, you draw 1 card. That sounds maybe not good. I think that's very good. This is the kind of card I look for because of those limitations. If someone's like, oh, I've got a removal spell, what am I going to cast it on? If they look at this and they see, oh, it draws 1 card per turn, I'm not using my removal spell on that. It's low to the ground enough that no one wants to like kick it kind of thing. So that's why I think this, and also drawing 1 extra card per turn doesn't sound great, but again, if you do that every turn, very quickly you get something that is a very impressive effect, right? You only do this on the battlefield. It costs 1 in a white. If it's on the battlefield for even like 2 turns, you're going to draw 2 extra cards, 2 mana for 2 cards. I'd be happy. You know what? If someone actually uses a removal spell on it, even better. You've used up more of their resources, and hey, It's not a big deal for you, I think. But anyway, I think this is a great card. Again, definitely you want to combine this with other things that will also draw cards, right? This is not like a standalone card draw fix. Like, again, at the beginning I said Ristic Study. Ristic Study will just draw you all your cards you need, but it's also going to get killed, right? If I have a enchantment removal, and this is on the board, and Ristic Study's on the board, I'm choosing Ristic Study 100% of the time. Okay? This is just not going to be something that people are like, oh, let's kill that. And you also get that effect where, like, if you have maybe 2 or 3 different things giving you card draw, you're drawing a lot of cards, but it's also like, you need like 3 different types of removal to deal with 3 different things drawing cards, right? It's much safer, really. If you think about it in those terms, I'd almost say cards like Ristic Study are overvalued. I do have one, I haven't put it in a deck, so maybe I shouldn't rip on it. Anyway, 195. And the list. Alright, so Curse of Silence. Awesome commander card, 21 cents. Spark Rupture, only 9 cents. Pursuit of Knowledge, 51 cents. Again, you need to draw cards, but it draws way more cards than you need to skip, right? You are skipping drawing cards, but if you have Proliferate, it's almost like a guaranteed include in a Proliferate deck, I'd say. Smuggler's Share, $1.27. Once again, in a format where it's like 1v1, do not play this. This is like really only multiplayer, ideally Commander, I think. It is going to get activated every turn in Commander. And Dawn of a New Age. This is my number 1 because I think it is the safest, okay? It's never going to be the top of the list of like, oh, I want to destroy that Dawn of a New Age. Like, it's not going to happen, right? Someone might destroy all enchantments and then it's out, but otherwise it's probably just going to sit there the whole game, drawing you cards, being a good little boy. Alright? Anyway, 195. And that is it. Alright, take it easy.